Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, your significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, this show is for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create a life you love or love the life you create. Now, here's your host, Dr. April, and co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. How are you doing, Coach K?
I am doing amazing. And how about yourself?
Good, except we've got a little bit of chill in the area here in Florida.
Well, I will take your kind of chill because it's at least above 30 something that I woke up with this morning.
Yes. But I think here in Southwest Florida, we are very thankful for the coldness, just because it's been a hot summer and everything else that's going on here. So, yeah.
I can only imagine the gratefulness of a lot to just be able to be here.
Right, definitely. And even I'm just going to jump right in because we have a lot to talk about today. But in the sense of the gratefulness, one of the things that I'm grateful for is the American Red Cross. They have been doing an extremely great job here in Southwest Florida, where we've had a lot of devastation. So I just want to highlight them. They're a strong network of volunteers that have been providing food, shelter, and other necessary needs. So www.redcross.org. I just wanted to bring that out there. Yep.
Yeah, great organization.
Yes, definitely. And the other thing that I'm going to share with my audience is that also in Southwest Florida, in my own practice, I don't know if I got a chance to tell you, Coach K, but it turns out that we're going to need a new roof and due to a variety of other extra stuff. It's a shopping plaza. And so we're also trying to raise funds because this is 19 different owners that are being affected by. So definitely check out the Del Prado Mall Association website. So that's enough of that. Okay. And this month we're highlighting couples, and I am so excited because we have a special couple that's coming on. Yes.
I love when we're talking to couples. Togetherness is awesome on every level in the world. So whenever we can have couples on together, all for it, especially when we're bringing intimacy back, right?
Yes, definitely. And I love to talk to couples and couples who are doing well, and because it gives hope. Right. There's so many couples out there that are struggling, that don't know which way to come or which way to do. This gives hope. So, yeah. And what's special about this couple is that, well, first, number one, I met the young lady a couple of weeks ago. Her name is Chasity, and she and I connected. And I like her because she's also not only in the field, but she is also an entrepreneur. And I believe you've met with her too.
Yep.
Yes. So I'm excited about that. And then she was just so excited about her romance. And what's also exciting about this couple is they're engaged. That engagement process is so sexy. Yes. And so she was telling me about her partner, Dr. Fowlkes. And her partner is also kind of in the field also of this whole sexual health, wellness, LGBTQ. Yes. And so I'm excited that they've brought in they're together, and they're bringing in their knowledge, and they're sharing it with the world, plus their love.
Yes. Much necessary to learn of all people, all love. I'm excited about this one.
Yes. So we'll be back in a moment, and I'll share more information about them.
Life can be overwhelming sometimes. We think we are a burden to others. We think that it's better to hide it and suppress our hurt, but it's not. As Cave Coral Therapists, we will provide you with quality, confidential counseling services in a relaxing and peaceful environment. Talk to a professional today. Book an appointment on www.capecoraltherapist.com or call 239-565-6921.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy Show, where intimacy is real. Yes, yes. Well, I would like to welcome, and I should have made a correction. I guess I have two entrepreneurs. Yes. Yes. Two entrepreneurs, Dr. Fowlkes and Chasity. Welcome to the show.
Thanks
Welcome.
for having us.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Well, one of the things that I ask all my couples is, how did you two meet?
Babe, you wanna tell the people?
Yeah, well, we actually met, I think the first time we met was actually through the anthology, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so we were working on an anthology together, and the editor or the visionary author placed people together as accountability partners. And for whatever reason, she chose to place Chasity and I together as accountability partners. And yeah, I don't know, I think it was just the universe or something. And so we actually ended up developing a really good friendship rooted in that, and just kind of working with each other and working through our chapters and supporting one another. And it's a relationship that was able to stand the test of time. And so even well beyond the making of the book, we stayed in contact and stayed in one another's lives. What would you add to that, Dave?
That pretty much sums up how we met. Yeah. It doesn't sum up how we it doesn't sum up how we became a couple though, but it definitely sums up how we
So we were friends for many years before I decided to shoot my shot. That's a whole other thing.
You can't leave out the good parts now.
I know. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, so we were friends for many years, and then I don't know what happened. You know, I say this kind of playfully, but kind of seriously. So what happened was one day, Chasity was doing a presentation. I'll never forget it. She had on a blue shirt and blue eyeshadow. And I don't know what it was about that day. All this time, we've been friends. It was completely platonic. We were just, you know, I think we had friend zoned each other. Like we just were friends. But that day, something just, I don't know. I looked at her on the screen and it was like, I had never, all of a sudden, I was just like, wow, I am interested to know her in a different kind of way. And so I kind of sat with it a little bit. I was a little nervous about it. I was in a relationship at the time. And I was trying to figure out kind of how best to navigate it. And polyamorous. So I spoke to my partner and said, hey, you know, I think I am actually interested in Chasity, which I know it's kind of like all this time we've just been friends, but like something shifted for me today. And my partner was like super understanding of it. She encouraged me to shoot my shot. And so I decided I would shoot my shot. And I'm kind of a poetic guy. So I wrote a poem and it was a whole thing. And so, yeah, I shot my shot and she said yes. And I was like, really?
So you just threw the ball at the court and if it landed, oh well.
Yeah. So she said yes. And I was like, cool, like awesome. So let's do this. And the rest is history.
The most crazy part about the shot shooting portion was I had just broken up with a boyfriend, and I was kind of I kind of said my little prayer to the universe. I said, whomever and whatever you have that is in alignment with where I'm going with my life, I'm ready. And like that was like the day of or the next day when he shot his shot, and I was like, okay. Right. They say be careful what you ask for. And so that's what I asked for. And fast forward, next month makes 2 years since he shot his shot. And here we are. Yeah.
That is but this may be completely off topic, but listening to Dr. Fowlkes say that it was the blue shirt, the blue eyeshadow, that's your throat chakra. And all of this came through communication. You spoke to the universe. You wrote this poem. Communication. It was definitely destined.
I love it.
Yeah. I love our love story.
I do too. I do too.
So Chastity, tell us about Dr. Fowlkes. What's so special about Dr. Fowlkes?
Oh man, I'm a sapiosexual, and so intellectual stimulation is definitely key for me. But prior to that, this is both. This marriage will be both mine and Dr. F's. I'm gonna just call him Dr. F's.
Okay.
Dr. F's second marriage. So we both were married prior. I knew Dr. F's ex-wife and things like that, and I watched how he treated her and their relationship, and it was just a beautiful thing to see a black man show up in that way, and to cater and to love and to worship their partner, never knowing that one day he would be mine, but just watching that, and he was just such a good guy, and still the same today. He is an amazing, amazing human being. Super duper smart. Always champion the fight of the LGBTQ plus community, but now in such a bigger way and on a bigger platform. Super proud of this guy. He was named one of LinkedIn's top 10 LGBTQ plus voices to follow this year.
Oh,
Yeah, he's big time. Go over there and follow him. And just I've been an entrepreneur since 18, I guess, but now they're realizing Girl Scouts are entrepreneurs too. So since I was a kid, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have quite a few things in the irons in the fire, but to finally be in a relationship with someone, even if that, full-time entrepreneur, serialpreneurship is not their goal or their vision, that they can actually understand it. Also being with someone who's also in the mental health field that actually understand it. Dr. Fowlkes is a licensed clinical psychologist. And so it just made sense on so many levels. There were so many similarities. There's so many things I don't have to try to explain or try to prove. And then when I think about, wanting to create, generational wealth and change the trajectory of my family's life, I couldn't ask for a better partner to do that with. We are different in so many ways, but it balances us out. It's kind of like the perfect fit, if that makes sense. It's the last piece of the puzzle for me. It's the last thing that was missing, was to actually have, a life partner. And as my very dear colleague, Dr. Lex states, get you a lover. And I'm like, I finally have a lover. Like I finally have someone that I feel like I'm in partnership with. So I could keep going on and on, but I'll stop there.
So I'm completely embarrassed. But thank you. We are polar opposites, so she's glowing and I'm blushing, but I'm grateful.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. Yes. Well, tell the audience about Chastity.
Oh man.
Yeah. So Chastity is amazing. So Chastity is a relationship and sex therapist, and I'm a clinical psychologist. So we both, have a background in mental health, but it's funny how differently we view certain things. Some of the stuff that makes me like want to curl up in a ball and like hide because I'm so embarrassed. She's like, let me put it on a t-shirt, but she's absolutely amazing, and she's amazing at what she does, and she's an entrepreneur at heart. She has absolutely no problem with jumping out there and taking risks. And she's such a huge, huge, huge supporter of the LGBTQ community. And even before we were in a romantic relationship, she was already a very, very strong ally. I don't know that she knew. I'm assuming she didn't know that she would end up marrying a member of the LGBTQ community. But she was a really, really strong ally, and she was a safe place. And she was someone that I could talk to well before we had a romantic connection. I remember talking to her about gender identity and talking to her about, some of the things that I was struggling with, and her being a safe place for that conversation. And so once we developed a romantic relationship, it was just kind of a it was a transition that was, at least for me, a really easy transition, because she was someone that I already trusted and that I felt safe with, which as a member of the transgender community is particularly important. I mean, safety is a very real concern in our community. And so feeling safe, not just physically safe, but, psychological safety and emotional safety is super important. And she's a safe space, not just for me, but for like lots and lots and lots of people. And I think that's awesome.
I must say that blue shirt that I had on, it literally said hashtag sex talk no chaser. That's my hashtag. So
she has a shirt, and I had to tell her, we've been talking a lot about spirituality, right? And I had to tell her, like, could we just make sure we don't, when we go to church, could we just not, and she's been really great, because I always worry that she's going to pull out. She's got this shirt that says "It's the clit for me."
Yes.
Yeah.
That I am like absolutely horrified by. And
I mean, they say come as you are to the church.
Exactly.
And if the clit is how you come, then
so here I am. I'm like, please don't wear your "It's the clit for me" shirt. And she's like, but God made the clit. And I'm like,
with a sole purpose.
Yes.
It only has one purpose.
Yes.
yes. But I don't want to talk about that while passing around the offering plate. And
You might get a high offering. I'm just saying.
yeah.
The energy between you guys are just so it's just natural. Is that how you built onto this place where you all landed?
Yeah, I think it's also being as though we both were married earlier in life, and we both, had children, and just, I think once you've done a lot of living, you figure out exactly what you want. And for the most part, you don't really waver from that. And I think what we've realized as well is, although we have the differences, we've figured out a way to make space for each other's differences, to respect the differences, but to create space where that's okay in our relationship, that we, don't think the same on this or don't think the same on that. We still love each other very much, very deeply, and we're still going to be in a relationship, and all is well in the world. Actually, those kinds of conversations, we just had one the other night. Those kinds of conversations actually feed us. We both are people who need that intellectual discourse and, back and forth around stuff that's not just your mundane things. And so it's beautiful to have a partner that can disagree, still have a civilized conversation around the disagreement, and still love each other afterwards. So.
Well, and I think also with this being our second marriage, there's a certain, I think you understand what relationships take, the work that they take. And you have more realistic expectations of the other person the second time around, right? And so I feel like we have realistic expectations of one another in terms of how we can show up and how we can engage in a meaningful way, but also the fact that each of us has shortcomings. We have blind spots. We have things that, we're going to drop the ball concerning, and being able to extend grace in those situations. Learning to assume best intention, which I think is something that's really important for us in our relationship. That and that's not to minimize, this isn't the debate of intent versus impact, right? Obviously, we have to pay attention to the impact that we have on people, but to assume best intention, right? Like, so if it's best not to assume at all, but if you're gonna assume, like, at least assume in a positive way and not a negative one. And that's something that I feel like is really helpful for us in our relationship. And we're both clinicians, so you can't take it off. People are like, take off your clinician hat, and I don't understand. It's not a thing, right? So at the end of the day, when we are talking, we employ interventions with each other. We absolutely do. But I think it makes for a healthier relationship. So, like one of the interventions that we employ, particularly when a situation is getting a little tense, is asking the person, okay, so we're saying, first of all, what I said is blank. What did you hear?
Okay. Yes.
And understanding that what I said and what you heard might very well be two different things. And so just slowing down to say, okay, so what did you hear me say? Oh, I heard you say you're a terrible partner. Yeah, no, so that's not what I said. I know that's what you heard, but what I said was I prefer linguine. It's not the same thing. We also have like this whole color coded system, which, listen, if you guys don't have color coded systems, let me just say I am now like a champion of. We have this whole thing. It's green light, yellow light, red light, right? So like when conversations are starting to get a little tense, a little heat under the collar, it's like, okay, I think I'm hitting yellow. I think I probably should bow out of this conversation right now because we don't want it to escalate to red, right? So like, I feel like I'm in a yellow space, so I'm going to bow out gracefully, right, and come back when I'm back in green, right? Right now, I'm feeling a little yellow, and we actually like
don't tell it.
Don't tell it.
Are you about to say what I'm about to say?
No, I was just going to say we actually employ these interventions in real time with one another, and it's actually like I feel really helpful for us. Okay, what were you about to say?
I was going to say one of the most important things I think that we agreed to fairly earlier this year was to go to counseling. I don't think you have to wait until you're real. I always, as couples therapists, we don't typically get couples that are just, they're not harmonious at all most of the time by the time they come. And so we always say, treat your relationship like you treat your car, right? You go and you get treatment on your car so it doesn't break down. So don't wait until your relationship breaks down. And just because we're clinicians doesn't mean that we don't need someone to hold that space for us. And so one of the things I will say is we want to make sure that our relationship has the best chance it can ever have at being something super strong, super healthy, and really tailored for us. And so definitely, it's great for couples to find themselves someone who has the skill set and knowledge to be able to help them either to improve things, to progress things along, or to hold space if they want to explore different things. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there. Some of those skills and interventions, we've learned on our own. We pulled out of our own therapeutic belts, but we also have an amazing couples clinician who knows both of us very, very well. And she just doesn't let us get off of the hook when we are not doing what we're supposed to do. And so I think it's really important to say that, you don't have, your relationship doesn't have to be falling apart for you to get help. And if you're starting a new relationship or stepping into a marriage, more than just, I talked to the pastor twice, or I went to the therapist once and they signed a certificate and now my marriage license costs $65. Like really dig in to some of those core foundational areas so that you can set yourself up for success versus failure. So, yeah.
One thing I'm curious about, you both give so much to the community, to your work, to other things, and have, people depending on you. How do you find time or space, as you guys say a lot, for each other? How do you guys balance that?
That's a good question. You want me to take it or you want to take it?
Yeah, take it away.
Okay. Well, we also are technically in a long distance relationship now. Right. We started off long distance. AC moved to Florida, so we work long distance, and he's taken an amazing position at his alma mater, and so now we're back long distance. And so I think communication is key. And we say that all the time about all the relationships, but I think when it is a long distance situation, it's a little bit more tricky. But we check in with each other. We text each other, you know, if we can throughout the day. We also have this thing, AC started it, where if we haven't heard from each other in a while, we'll call and be like, "Hi, my name is Dr. Fowlkes. I'm your fiance, just in case you forgot." And I'll do it to him as well. But you know, video chatting, planning time to spend together, and when we are together, really making sure that the time we spend apart is time that we can not otherwise get out of. And so I think it's about balance. It's about prioritizing, but also being with someone who had something going on in their life and that was busy was actually like part of that prayer to the universe.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Because if I'm a busy entrepreneur and you're someone who doesn't have a whole lot going on, then it will take a huge strain in the relationship. But I say being intentional. I think we're intentional with the time that we do spend. I think we both probably want to spend more time. And so we have to get more creative for that. But that would be my answer. I don't know if Dr. F has any.
Yeah. So I think dating is important, and I consider everything a date. Everything is a date, right? So like
going to get pizza is a date.
We go to pizza, we're going on a date, right? We might eat the pizza in the parking lot, and it's a date. Right? We watch politics together at 9 o'clock. It's a date. You know, everything is a date, and so you know we have Wordle wars. It's just it gets serious about the Wordle.
We're competitive now.
We get on Wordle. We talk a lot of trash, right, on Wordle. Right, but we're going back and forth on our Wordle. You know, we say 1 out of 1 until somebody.
Until I'm the one who won first.
No,
and then you want to go to Wordle icons?
3 out of 5. But we're really intentional. So even though we're distant, we make sure that we take time out to not just to have the heavy conversations and then here's what's going on in my day-to-day life conversations, but then also separating time for play, even though we're at a distance. And so play for us might have to be Wordle because we're in 2 different places, but it's a way for us to still include play in our relationship.
I'm glad to hear you when you said that you take the time for the heavy conversations too, because I know sometimes with long distance relationships, people don't get into the heavier things because it's like, well, when we're together, I just want to concentrate on the good times. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to those folks that are saying, I only want happy times when we're together?
In the words of Dr. AC Fowlkes, you can do hard things.
Okay.
Yes, you can do hard things. We would be doing ourselves a disservice to walk down the aisle in 192 days. I don't know that by heart. I had to look at the app, but 192 days. If we don't have those hard conversations, it's a disservice to both of us. It would be a disservice to our marriage and a disservice to the extension of our family if we don't do the work. People shy away from doing the work, but they want the results of the relationships that they praise. Right. But to be clear, some of the relationships that we praise are not good either. Or good is subjective, but aren't healthy, And so, my motto is you have the power to create and cultivate the relationships that you desire. And I live that out in my life. That's the only way that I can truly show up authentically and be me and help people in the capacity that I do, is to be able to do the work myself. And so avoiding the hard conversations only sets you up for heartache and pain further down the road.
Yeah, I agree with that. And kind of like Chastity said, I'm really big on saying, we can do hard things and we can. And the reality of the situation is that we can't prevent hard things from happening. And so what's most important is that we learn how to, and I saw a video about this actually just recently, learn how to do hard better, right? Learn how to do hard better. It's not, we are always looking for stuff to get easier. And it's this amazing video. I'll maybe send it to you. It was a basketball coach from Duke, I think, that was saying how oftentimes people lead their lives hoping for things to get easier. The reality of the situation is that it's not that things get easier. Things are not going to get easier. What happens is you learn to do hard better. Mm-hmm. And I think that is just so true and so on point. Like, relationships are hard. They just are. You know, parenting is hard. Co-parenting is hard. Extending your family is hard. Long distance relationships are hard. Short distance relationships are. It's all hard. But we have to learn how to do hard better. And so I think, and that's where, you know, getting that additional support, whether it's a relationship coach or whether it's a relationship therapist or whether it's a person of faith or whatever the case may be, getting that additional assistance so that you can learn how to handle hard better, I think really is something that I can't overstate the importance of.
See, now y'all know why I'm in love with him. Listen to him.
And you sitting there like, that's my boo.
I can listen to him all day long.
Wow, that was
he is so embarrassed right now.
I know, that was so inspiring. Yes. And I love that you guys have fun, because many couples, they struggle in having fun, which is so critical to intimacy. It's about playing and having fun.
Yes. My Wordle averages are higher than hers, just in case you were wondering.
Because he plays more.
My percentages are higher. That's to be clear.
I love how you threw that in there. Like, look, make sure they know.
It's on tonight, and I'll let y'all know who won.
That's 2 out of 3.
So just knowing that this is about sexual health and wellness, I love that the key points that you guys are speaking on is communication. Mm-hmm. And for people to get that, because you see and stop at the word sex, no one's thinking about that physical piece. It's everything else. So what is, or how do couples express, what's the connection between mental health and sexuality, and gender?
Well, that's a good one. I'm gonna let you start with that.
Oh, I'm gonna let you take it.
Take it to the serious place.
Either one of us can take it. We got the qualifications. I'm just saying. I mean, ladies first, I guess.
Ladies first.
So this is actually what my chapter in that book was about. It's literally sex, sexuality, and gender, the unspoken connection to mental health. Literally, that's the name of my chapter.
Oh, wow.
And so,
what's the name of the book again?
Don't order it online. Hit your girl up.
Okay.
Shameless plug. Black Therapists Rock.
Oh, Black Therapists Rock. Okay.
A glimpse through the eyes of experts. So it's like 18 of us in this book, and we're telling our own personal stories and journey as to how counseling helped and impact us. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Got to check that out. Go on.
Yeah. So anywho, there's a huge connection, and I see it play out all the time. I think I always say our mental health and our sexual health is just as important as our physical health. I think in the world and society today, we focus on physical health a lot more than all the other things. And we think that mental health is a stigma, but sexual health is way more stigmatized than mental health is. A lot of people don't see that there's a connection, right? And I'm going to put it in the terms of how I see it play out with couples and in relationship. It's kind of like, let's say we're talking about a heterosexual couple. Let's just say there's some desire discrepancy or something like that going on. Or at least that's what we think is going on. Or the couple might come in and this partner, the guy wants this, maybe this is sex, and she wants intimacy, and them not being able to see how the two connect, but then it's showing up in the relationship as frustration, name calling. I mean, verbal abuse is showing up as using sex as a punishment. It's showing up as engaging in sexual intimacy because you feel like it's a chore or your duty as a wife. All of these things. It's a trickle down effect. I mean, we've all been in that office and we see that one person and we like, I know what's wrong with them. Mm-hmm. They're sexually frustrated. right? You go down the checklist of all the things. Okay, all that's good. Yeah, you sexually frustrated. That's what it is. But happy chemicals only excrete naturally in 3 different ways, right?
Right.
Exercise, sex, and drugs. 2 of those things are healthy. Like, to be clear,
yes.
Right? But with that being said, not everybody is partnered as well. And so I always tell people self-pleasure and self-exploration is also a positive thing. Mm-hmm. Very much stigmatized, especially in Black and brown communities, or those who have strong spiritual ties. Right. But I'm saying all that to say it's all connected. How it shows up or how it impacts one might differ from the other, but it's all connected. And when they come and they see people like me or Dr. all of us, right, then they can possibly figure out that's where that connection goes. As far as gender, I ain't going to get into that too much because I'm going to make sure that Bay has a chance to talk about that.
Well, it's a loaded question. I mean, like, so when I think about gender, I think about gender identity, and we could take that question so many different directions. But what I will say is that it's important that we allow people to self-identify, to explore, to change their mind. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to not know. And I think it's important that in a relationship that's a safe thing. It's interesting because I don't mind. I'll share this. I was having a conversation with Bae one day, and I was like, actually, this was actually really recently, right? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure out like orientation. Like, I don't know. I've been identifying one way, but I'm not really sure if that's how I really feel or if that really explains my experience. And so I think it being a safe place for you to have those conversations, all of that contributes to mental wellness, right? And those two things come together, right? And I think within our relationships, if we don't have safety, then what do we have? And part of safety is sexual safety, right? And the last thing I would mention is when I'm thinking about safety and sexual safety, I think about enthusiastic consent, which is something that Bae and I talk about, quite a bit, right? She brought up the obligatory sexual exchanges, right? The fact that someone gives consent is sometimes in and of itself not even enough. Is it enthusiastic consent, right? Or is it like, fine, okay, right? Like, fine, okay. And so I think that if you're in a relationship where you're prioritizing enthusiastic consent and where you're prioritizing and making it safe for people to not know and to figure it out and to explore and to question, then you're in pretty good shape, and you might not always want the same things, and there might be desire discrepancies, but I think that's why it's important for you to have that communication and for you to be able to talk about what it is that you desire, what is the underlying need that you're hoping to meet. And if there's a way, if that particular way isn't something that your partner's comfortable with, is there another way that you can meet that underlying need, right? Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we're all in a quest to meet underlying needs. Most of the times, we're not trying to fulfill what's on the surface. There's something deeper that we're looking to address. And so we might not agree on the mechanism by which we address it, surface level, right? But if we can be open and honest about the underlying need, then we can maybe find another mechanism by which to address that need that we can agree upon.
Wow.
I was also going to say, and this is really important, I think, to both of our work,
yes.
that it's really important to understand that we live in a monogamous, heteronormative world.
Right.
And so that within itself puts people in a box, and it doesn't create space that's conducive for what Dr. F is saying. There's no room for your partner to be able to explore and change their mind and do these things because of the mindset of society and also some of that deeply rooted stuff that we were taught growing up, if that makes sense. And so a lot of this, And I see this all the time with couples, especially people who've been married for an extended period of time, or they got married really young and now they're in their, their 40s or their 50s. And what worked then doesn't work now. And I know that so much more to be true now, a decade after my divorce, that there's so much that I didn't know when I entered into that marriage 3 days before my 21st birthday, and to now the person who's about to enter another relationship. And so some of these things comes with time. Who you are, what you want, need, and desire is going to change. It's going to expand. Bologna used to be my favorite food. I haven't eaten bologna in like 3-4 years. I will not eat it anymore. I used to hate vegetables. Now I absolutely love them. Broccoli is one of my favorite things to eat. I'm saying all that to say, if you stay in the same spot and there is no changing and evolving, there's a bigger problem or issue here. Right. And what typically happens is somebody is staying the same and somebody is being more progressive or wanting to be more exploratory. And then that creates this distance between the two of them, because there's an inability to actually have a rational, logical conversation about that. And one other thing I'll say in this is my therapist's words and our therapist's words. And it's just, there's a difference between compromising and sacrificing, right? Compromising is actually healthy, especially I think when it's including somebody outside of the partnership that's helping you guys to navigate what that compromise looks like. Because some people can't do that. Right. Because they're too busy fighting to be right. They're too busy fighting to be the one that wins in the argument or the situation, that they really don't have the skills and tools necessary to develop compromise within the relationship. But sacrificing is not healthy at all. And that will lead towards resentment, and a lot of times will lead towards ending of marriages, whether that means a gavel hitting and it's a final over, or just a line in the sand that we are no longer in that romantic state of our relationship. There's a lot of couples still living together and they're not together. And there's a lot of people who are miserably married. And so I always say there's only a few things in life we cannot change. So if there's something about your life, your situation that you don't like, then take the necessary steps to change it, or to at least make it the harder easier, as Dr. F said.
Wow. Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. Yes. And I love how you state how providing that space for each other to be free. It's kind of what you guys are talking about. And that freedom of just being okay with myself and being able to change. Of course, when you're like that, your mental health will of course be good, because you learn how to appreciate and love yourself and love your partner. And so I love how y'all relationship is like that. Yes. So if people out there listening and they're wanting to connect with you, Dr. Fowlkes, and then with Chasity, where could they find information about you guys?
The best place to find me is LinkedIn, and it's AC Fowlkes. That's the platform that I'm on the most, so that would be the best place to find me.
Yes, and you're what did she say earlier? You're one of the top.
Yeah, so I was identified as a LinkedIn top voice, the top 10 folks to follow in the U.S. and Canada when it comes to LGBTQ topics.
Awesome. So I'm definitely going to be following you. Yes. Definitely.
Awesome.
And Chasity?
So I have social media. I'm not on there a whole lot, and I've been taking a hiatus since our engagement and really just protecting my space and energy. But you can pretty much find me almost everywhere at Chas for Change, and I'm pretty Googleable. So just Google me. You'll figure out how to get in contact with me for sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys for being on this show. And this has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show. We'll take a break and we'll be back in a moment.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Sex should not be the elephant in the room. The fourth ebook of the Improving Intimacy book series, From Bringing Intimacy Back, It's All About Sex, helps you navigate every which way you can tend to your sex life. Pulling out all the stops, dive into the sensual read about sex toys, silky linens, and date nights. Improving Intimacy, It's All About Sex is available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and paperback. Search Dr. April Brown on Amazon to view all her books on improving intimacy for yourself, spouse, and more.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Wow, that was refreshing.
Yes, it was definitely an amazing show. And I love that this will hopefully just open up the lines of communication in many relationships where someone may feel trapped or stuck, or, they don't feel like they have permission to speak about how they're feeling.
Right. And I like how, and you mentioned it earlier, how they set time aside to have those talks and to provide that space. And of course, as you could tell, the energy between them two, which is fun and laughter, which is so critical. Yes.
That part is definitely great. And speaking of just the flow of things, we have some more shows that are coming up for in the next couple of weeks as well. So on next week, October the 27th, we have Tony and Alyssa DiLorenzo with 6 Pillars of Intimacy. On November the 3rd, we have Carrie Shell with The Impact of Alcohol on Intimacy. And then on November the 10th, we have Michael Magrucci with Reconnecting to Our Humanity. Definitely, this will be a hard show to follow, but I think that they may be able to do so with the lightness. And just a reminder to everyone that's watching, if you haven't already, make sure you are following Bringing Intimacy Back on Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on Clubhouse. We're on YouTube. And smash that like button. Let us know how we're doing, because we want to know. And before we leave, if you would, Dr. April, about the 19 business owners that are in the area, can you remind us how we can help to restore and make sure that those businesses continue to run? Where can we go to get you that help over there?
Okay, yes, we can definitely go to a GoFundMe under Del Prado Mall Association. And like she was saying, there's 19 different business owners there that this is their livelihood, and you'll see the GoFundMe account. And they need help. We all need help in making sure that these businesses still exist here in Southwest Florida. All right. Thank you guys so much. And I'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.